Welcome back, guys. In this video, you will learn how to blend two or more images together during photo compositing. This is what you'll be creating today. Let's start. I'll switch to this document and select the lady from this background. I'll hold the Alt key and deselect this subject from the selection. Now I'll select the lasso tool and spend some time to refine this selection. Once the selection is refined, I'll add a mask to it. I'll right click here and convert it to a smart object. Then with the move tool, I'll simply drag the selection onto this new document or image. I'll just place it at the center here. Now in this particular video, you will not be learning perspective. Let's just leave everything the way it is. Let's come to the layers panel and rename it. As you can see, the subject does not match with the background. So if we allow this composition like this, everyone is going to determine that it is fake. To blend the subject with its background, let's go here and then let's add the curves adjustment layer. Then make sure this option is selected in front, not the mask. With this portion selected, on the properties, you have three eyedroppers here. The one at the top controls the darkest point of the image. The one at the bottom controls the brightest point, and the one in the middle controls the midpoint. Before we do anything, let's click here to make sure that everything that we do only affects the subject layer. I'll start by double clicking on the eyedropper tool here. That brings up the color picker. As you can see, the default target color is pure white. Let's move inside our image and click on the light source or any bright pixel from the background. It happens around this position. I'll just click there. Although it is not pure white, I'll just click OK and choose not to save that color with sample as a default color because the default color is pure white. I'll click no. Then I'll also click on the brightest portion on the subject. The brightest pixel or portion has to happen around this portion. I'll just click here. As you can see, that corrected the image instantly. Let us do the same thing with the eyedropper here at the top. I'll double click, and as you can see, the default target color is pure black. Let's move inside our composition and sample the darkest portion on the background. I'll click here and then just click OK and choose not to save that as the default color. Then I'll also click on the subject on an area that is totally black, which is this portion here. And this is the look that we get so far. Now I'm going to stop here for now. I'll not continue with the midpoint eyedropper here. I think the result is okay. Let's compare the before and after. This is the before and this is the after. If the effect is too much, you can reduce its opacity. But I'm going to leave this opacity to 100%. I'll come to the background here and duplicate it by pressing Ctrl+J. Then I'll move the copy right to the top. I'll right click on it and convert it to a smart object. Then I'll hold the Alt key and clip it to make sure it affects just these layers we have clipped previously. Then I'll go to filter and then I'll choose blur and add Gaussian blur. I'll increase the radius up to 1000 just like so. Then I'll click OK. Instead of changing its blending mode, I'll simply take down the opacity to 0 and then gradually begin to increase it. As I increase the opacity, it blends in with the background even more. I'll leave it at 31%. Let's see what we have done so far. We added the curves adjustment layer with the correction to have this effect. I think let's reduce the opacity. And after that, we duplicated the background and placed it at the top and added Gaussian blur to produce this effect on the screen. If you take a closer look at the background, you can see that the light source comes from this direction. So that means we have to also paint the light source reflecting the subject from that direction. To add the highlights, I'll just do some guesswork here because as you can see, the light source on the subject does not have any specific direction. So I'll enable these two layers and then I'll come over here and then add curves adjustment again. I'll click on the target icon here And then I'll simply click anywhere and just drag it up to add the highlights. Just like so. Then I'll also clip it to make sure it stays just within these adjustments we are making here. I'll select the marks and press Ctrl+I to invert it. Then with the mark selected, I'll grab the brush tool, make sure I'm working with a soft round brush, reduce the flow up to 31%. Then I'll gradually begin to paint with white as foreground to reveal the highlights. By reducing the flow, it gives you the possibility to paint several times before you actually see the effect. Okay, this is the before and this is the after. Let us add the shadows. I'll click here and then choose the curves adjustment layer one more time. I'll make sure the mask is selected and I'll invert it by pressing Ctrl+I. Then with the brush tool, I'll make sure foreground is set to white. Then I'll gradually begin to paint. Let's clip it first of all. Hold the Alt key and click here to clip it so that all these adjustments affect just everything within this group. I'll gradually begin to paint this way to reveal the shadows. Let's see the before and after. It makes a whole lot of sense. After we are done with all these target adjustments, let us now add one global adjustment. Global adjustments will help us to blend the subject and the background in a more natural way. So let's click on the adjustment layer icon here and then choose color lookup. I'll simply click here. Since I want to have a dark scene, I'll just click and choose Moonlight 3D. And then I'll take its opacity down to 0. Now I'll gradually begin to increase it to have the look and feel that I want. As you can see, I did not actually clip this adjustment layer because it is a global adjustment. Global adjustment means it controls everything in the composition. Now, if we did not actually take some time to paint the shadows and highlights, it will still be very dull. But let's see an example of the highlights we painted a moment ago. As you see, the shadows are still visible and the highlights are still visible, and they make a whole lot of sense. So before adding a global adjustment, always take some time to add the shadows and the highlights. And this is our scene. So basically, to match any subject to its background, you have the following steps to keep in mind. Start by creating a rough selection and placing it on the background. Then simply add the curves adjustment layer to it and use the 3 eyedropper tools I showed you, although we use just 2 in this example. Duplicate the background, place it on top and add Gaussian blur to it. This is the effect that we got. And after that, we added the highlights, as you can see. And after the highlights, we added the shadows, as you can see. And after the highlights and shadows, we added a global adjustment which blends everything so nicely, as you can see. And that is it for our composition. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video very helpful, support our channel by subscribing and giving us a like. And wait to see you in the next one tomorrow. Good luck.